Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. Happy Sunday night. Hope you guys all had a wonderful weekend. Instead of doing notes tonight, I figured I would just do a video because I feel like there's some really important levels and some things that just need to be shown more than explained. So we're just going to do that real quick. And I just wanted to show really fast, we have a pretty heavy calendar this week. If you guys remember last week, there wasn't a lot of news. Really on anything. We didn't have much in the US until Wednesday or Thursday of last week. It was pretty slow as far as that goes. But this week, that is not the case. We've got tons of stuff on Monday. Big important news announcements for the US on Monday as well as Australia. Tuesday's got stuff. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There's lots of stuff kind of across the board. Actually, Friday's the one that doesn't have much for the US, but it's got some pretty important ones for retail sales for the UK is a big one. The IFO is a big mover as well. So just note there's a lot on the calendar this week, and we're going to see a lot of movement. So just be ready for that. We have seen a pretty big start of the market already. Things kind of opened. Here's where the market opened, and then we just saw this big old push down about 60 pips on the euro dollar. Now, as you guys remember, here was our trade entry from Friday. We jumped in the euro yen at the break of this level right here. 106.30 is actually where we got into this guy, and it kind of bounced around a little bit, made a nice little run. Most of us closed out at about 50 pips profit. Closed part of the trade at 50 pips profit, and then remember our second profit target was 105.50, which is right there. So nice little 80 pip run, and then it's even continued on from there. So very nice breakout, very nice run, great 80 pip overall trade on that euro yen at the end of last week, beginning of this week. So just a quick little look here, guys. I'm just going to focus on the euro yen, or excuse me, the euro dollar and the pound dollar on this today. Quick little look at gold just to put these two in perspective. We've seen a nice breakout on gold. Gold has failed off this 1680 level, which we had some big resistance, and it's starting to break this trend line, and it's actually made quite a large run down here in the last little bit. So it's down to some support right here. So if we get gold back below about 1650, look for some decent sized movement down. So just remember 1650 probably going to give us a decent little run there, and that will help motivate euro dollar pound dollar pairs in further downside. So here's what happened on the euro dollar. Look at this euro dollar right here. We had this big trend line, nice little movements, made its way down nicely into there. Here is where things get interesting. Here is 130. You can see that 130 got tapped a couple weeks ago, ran all the way up here to almost 13400. It got pretty darn close to 13400, and then right back down again. And here it is. I personally think we're in that pre-summer movement area, and this is where markets are going to start to break and start to move. So here's 130 right here. It's been tested, and I think it might just be ready to go. So may not happen tonight since we've had such an active Asian session at the open here. Of the week for the market. It's been pretty active, but this 130 is definitely looking like it's ready to go. The euro dollar has done a pretty good job staying below this big long-term trend line right here. So I'm looking at 130. If this thing breaks, we need to be in some of this action. Now there's definitely bounce potential right here, and that's why I've got kind of this area to keep a really close eye on. If it gets through it, we're going to see some big continuations down, but it's probably going to be a little messy in that first initial run, but there's also a good chance of a bounce there. So let's just keep our eye on 130. I like probably an entry at like 129.90 with stops just above 130. If it can't stay below 130 on its first attempt, I want to get out of it with a small loss and let it kind of chop around, and ultimately what I love is when a level is tested. So if this 130 gets pushed below by 10 or 15 pips, maybe we get into it, maybe it stops us out, but if it gets right back to that level and breaks through that new low that's just gotten through this major support right here, that's going to be our entry point. So that's what I'm looking for. So if this dips down to maybe 129.90, bounces way back up to 130.30 or something, then we're going to want to get in at the break of that 129.90, not the break of the 130. But make sure you give yourself enough of a stop. You got to give yourself enough room for this movement here, because it will be kind of crazy. So just keep an eye on that. But 130 break is going to be our Our level to keep an eye on for sure. And then pound dollar, like I said, these are the only two I'm focusing on tonight. Pound dollar is kind of doing the same thing. Look at this trend line right here. The pound dollar has had really just a big struggle doing much above 160. It just doesn't seem to be able to get above 160. Like I said, this is pre-summer movement. This is when markets really start to scoot. And if this thing breaks back below this 15800, I think we're in for some pretty big movement here. So you can see that 15800 right here. Look how there's a little dip. We saw a little bit of a dip down to 157.70, but for the most part, 15800 is held very nicely on all of these tests. So a break of 15800, I think, is really going to get us moving and going, and that's only about 25 pips away from where the market currently is. So look at 15800, entries, like I said, around 157.90, something like that, with pretty tight stops, just a few pips above that 15800, and let's see if we can catch this first breakout in that big movement down there. So pound dollar looks good for that, euro dollar looks good for that. They've both had some big runs on Friday. Euro dollar, pound dollar have had big runs on Friday, and then some big runs to kind of start this week off as well. So things could be a little bit crazy, but watch those, and remember that if gold gives us a nice break of 1650, that's just going to help those trades really follow through into that low side there. So keep an eye on that. Best of luck, and we'll check in tomorrow morning for the US session and see how things go. Take care, everyone.